take a look at the starboard side. This is the only station on this catamaran. It's got a dual function twin engine control head. So the owner has decided to add a station to the boat because there's not a control station, and that's where he docks from. One of the other benefits to replacing these mechanical controls is, as you can see here, the controls are quite stiff. This is about a 2008 boat, and over time, they get very, very stiff. With stiff cables, docking it can be hazardous. Maneuverability is inhibited, and so we're simply going to end up removing this control head, and we're going to most likely use a trim plate. So when they're pulling this out, we'll disconnect the push-pull cables. We might use the cables in some cases to facilitate pulling the CAN bus cables through tight places. In this case, we're just going to pull this off, disconnect the cables, we'll get our CAN buses pulled through, and then we'll also use the same cables to get our cable links for the actuators to the governor arm and the shift lever of the gearbox. All right, now let's take a look at the components needed. First thing we have for a dual engine twin station system are the control heads. These are stainless handles, so two are required. Then we have the control unit. It's a KE-4XG in 12 and 24 volts is the system power. And you've got your CAN connection. And then in case you have a handheld remote control, you have the handy, that's what they call it. And you have your power harnesses here. This is where both power harnesses connect to. And then also required are, for each control unit, are 2 power harnesses. Each provides redundant power. And then we go to T harnesses. We have each remote T harnesses, RC1, RC2, because we have 2 stations. And then if you have a 3rd and 4th station, you'll have RC3 and 4. And then we have, for each engine, we have port and starboard. This is the port T harness, the starboard T harness. Then next we have the CAN bus harnesses. In this case, we need a total of 3. You have 1 between each of the control units. And then from the control unit, from the second control unit up to the 1st station, and then from the 1st station to the last station. And then finally, we have the actuator. The actuator has a 6-foot connection, which connects to the control unit. So you need to locate those within 6 feet of each other when you're planning out your installation. And then as far as mounting these 2 units, you've got 4 mounting holes, very robust. And then with the actuator, we've got 2 points of mounting. One is on the bottom, if you want to call it the bottom. You mount the actuator vertically. You can also flip this upside down and mount it from an overhead in this position. You can also mount it in the overhead with these mounting points on each side. The screws are kind of already sitting in there. So you have 2 on each side. So it allows you to mount it on a bulkhead. You have navigators where if you're retrofitting Hynonic engine controls, the navigators always have all the old Hynonic ST04s, ST06s mounted on these panels, bulkheads on each side. So you could mount these on those sort of panels. We've actually placed these vertically on stringers. We've placed them in the overhead of the engine room. Very universal mounting opportunities. Yeah, see, we got a nice open space to mount our controls. We're going to place it here, and should go quite nicely. With this installation, we've chosen to use a couple of power relays to be switched at the port station with a rotary switch that is waterproof rating. And then we have a lot of options, but this is what we're going to do. Here's this whole shot of all the power distribution on this small catamaran. So we'll probably come off the back of one of the battery switches, fuse it, go over to a 4-position circuit breaker panel, or it's a watertight box that we provide or sell. And in this case, we have a 12-volt system, so we're going to use 20-amp circuit breakers. The circuit breakers will be fed via the relays, so the power will come from the battery switches, one from the house, one from the engine bank, one of the engine banks. It'll be fused, go to the power relays, and then the power relays will supply the 4 circuit breakers, so that in case of an emergency, you want to reset the system. It's just a quick switch of the rotary switch, and both sides are reset, and we're up and running again. Now we're going to locate our position for our port control head, which is the outer station on this catamaran. Miles is going to tape off the area so we can make some nice little marks on it. place our template down. The template we're using happens to be one of our block-off plates for retrofitting systems. It's the block-off plate that we're going to use for the starboard side for that mechanical control head. We also use it, as I mentioned before, for the hydraulic engine controls retrofit. We're going to take the tape and find our centers from the starboard side. In this case, it was 5 inches from we're using this vertical stanchion as a reference point. It's aft feature, we're up 4.5 inches, and that'll be our center. Find its center, and we're also going to square it off of the this one feature that nice and square. Got the middle pocket that we're going to cut out, and then we have the 4 mounting bolts at part of the control head. There's 4 holes around that pocket. Mark the center on those. So now we got our cutout for the control head with the four bolts that are going to go through the dash, and now I'm going to proceed to cut it out. These system comes with hardware for it. It is metric, so don't lose it. We end up having to chase it down. So Miles, pull this out. I also want to point out we've already pre-installed the station alarm if there's a fault, and also this is where the CAN bus connects to. Now Miles is going to we're going to remove the binnacle so we can get access to the aft holes, because on this side we found there's a bulkhead that traverses this pocket. Unlike the other side, architecture was a little bit different. Here's a finished installation of the port control head. We're going to locate one screw, get our alignment correctly, and locate one screw hole. The trim plate uses number 10 flathead self-tapping screws, of course. Just going to find one hole. And whenever you're using these trim plates, they're acrylic, so use a hand driver. Don't use a driver drill. You want to crack them. So he's going to get that one in place. Then he's going to check our alignment again and locate the second hole. Now we've mounted the control head on the trim panel, and we're going to put it in place, connect it to the CAN harness, and fasten it down. Also, we have a station alarm on this station as well. The station alarm. In this case, there's a fault being heard at any station. By the way, we applied a thin film of silicone sealant, held it back from the edges just a teeny bit, and gave us a watertight seal. Great. Let's check it out. There we go. Isn't that nice looking? That clear, wide open throttle. Reverse it forward. This is our reset switch for resetting the system. This goes down to our power relays that I'll show you in a bit, the installation there. And so in the event of having a fault, you can reset it quickly right here at the helm. Look it off, bring it back on. So all all the power buses get powered up at the very same time, so there's no power faults. Oh, this is where we positioned our circuit breaker box. You can see there's the circuit breakers. Okay, there's our relay boxes. These are little Bosch 30 amp relays. A little more about these relays. So what we're using the relays for, again, as I noted in the beginning of the video or earlier, that system reset switch up by the starboard helm powers these relays. And so if we were just to use the 4 circuit breakers to reset the power, you know, the guy's in a panic mode. He's got blinking lights. He has no controls. He's forgotten where the box is. You know, not only that, you have to switch on all 4 breakers at the same time. Otherwise, you get a fault. It's a power-up fault. And with the breakers, it's very difficult to get them all on at one time. So that's why we're using these relays. So we have one switch at the helm, turns both relays off, which cuts the power to all 4 circuit breakers. And by switching on at one time, it simultaneously comes on, so you won't get a fault. So this works really good.
So initially, we measured our stroke travel of our gear shift. And before you start, it's always good to figure out which is forward, which is reverse, and then you program that into the computer. Then you measure your stroke length. So we start off and then at center, and we move it, comes in, and you got to do this a couple of times to get the angle just right to measure it. It's a little rough. And we're coming in probably about 34 millimeters. That's probably what we had it set at. One thing to point out on almost all power boats, you're going to have for stroke direction, try to figure it out beforehand. So for determining stroke direction, this starboard engine, as you can see, to go forward is pull. And then as you notice, for forward on the port engine is going to be push. Determine your stroke length, which we measured, 64 millimeters. This is the easiest way to do it, is get a machinist ruler, come back, center there, back, end up center there. So you're pretty close in there. You program it in, you save it.
Okay, today I'm going to show you really quickly on how to download and install the settings tool and the drivers for the adapter harness. So we have both of those located on our website. If you type in the kit that you purchased, you can find that on any of the kit pages. So here we've already got the KE-4XG, but you can also search up like the most common one, the KE-4XG. Any of those kit pages will have the software ready to download for the tools. So scroll down to the downloads and resources section. We also have both the instruction manual and the settings tool manual here as well, if you want to look at these before you receive the system. The settings tool is here, and it's under the format software, so go ahead and download that. Now the settings tool has been downloaded. Next, you'll have to install it on your Windows laptop. And this is only going to work on any Windows laptop. I believe it works on Windows 10 and indeed it works on Windows 11, but it will not work on an Apple laptop. Okay, so only Windows. So go ahead and open that up, and sometimes you'll get this little pop-up here, and basically the reason is that this is an unknown publisher when it downloads that software from NHK MEC. But the NHK MEC did make this software, so hit that button and then click Run Anyway. This will bring you to the Windows Wizard tool setup. Locate where you would like to place it, and next, install it, and then click Next, and any other button you need to continue downloading it, and then click Close. So now that you have it downloaded, it should be on your desktop. Okay, so here on the desktop, you can find the settings tool software installed. And if you can't find it there, you can also go to your Windows search bar at the bottom usually, and just type in settings, and you can find the app or the tool, the settings tool software underneath apps. Okay, so you don't want to be under search the web, under settings. It'll be under apps. Those are the applications installed on your computer. So you can open it from there or from your shortcut on the desktop, and there you go. That's the settings tool. Next is the drivers for the USB adapter harness, which are required. They have to be installed in order for the communication between the control unit and your laptop to function correctly. So this is essentially the same process. Go ahead and click that button there. Install it. Same thing, right? You can open it here or on any browser. Press Control J and it'll bring you to your downloads. We'll open it from here. And then just click yes and next through all the install buttons that it has for you. Okay, then you'll get the install is complete, finish, and now you have your drivers set up. Now you can successfully begin to connect the harness and the settings tool harness, the NM1476-01, to the adapter harness.
And now we have our KE-XG USB cable connected to the serial port of the starboard control box. So now I'm going to open up the KE-XG settings tool, and this screen opens up. If you've never configured this tool before, it'll come up and show you which port to use, or ask you which port you're going to use. That's in the beginning of the manual for the setting tool. So I'm going to click config settings. This is going to open up the settings for the starboard side, and you have to connect to each control box to configure each control box separately, because the settings aren't all exactly the same for every for each motor, whether you have one or four motors. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the shift pause. We're not using that in this case. You would use that in the event of maybe a very large prop. You want the prop to slow down and stop before you shift the direction of gear. So direction shift operation default is pull, and in the case of this boat, we are set up for pull for forward. So that's already set. And we go down to throttle delay. In this case, we're not going to engage the throttle delay. We won't use throttle delay in this case. Reverse throttle opening, non-linear. So it's the throttle as a curve when you're in reverse. So it's you can see the curve in the manual. Forward throttle opening is linear. So that's typical. Just like it would be with a mechanical throttle control. It's linear. So direction of throttle movement in this case is going to be pull on both motors, but we're set in the starboard side first. We would only use the 3 or 4 engines for this is not used. Does not apply here, but it's only for 3 or 4 engines. Reverse stroke setting. So the throttle reverse stroke is going to be 60% of wide open throttle. And then reverse shift stroke is 34 millimeters. That's default. And it just happens to be what this catamaran has, the Volvo Pentas. So we have a set value here. And if we wanted to change that, just do a drop down menu and select any one of these. Say it was 32 millimeters, you'd select it. Do that. 32. So we're going to go back to where we were. Just 34. So we'll just cancel that out and get out. Next, we have the forward shift stroke, which is set to 34. It's default. And then we have forward throttle stroke setting. So for this boat, the in the manual in the back, which you really need to take a look at, on page A1, it shows 64 as the default. And in that chart, if you have a moment, you open it up while you're watching this video, you'll see the positions of stroke, and it's relative to where the mounting point is. So if you change your mounting point, it's going to change your position of your stroke. Factory settings is 64. Okay, so let's go over and change this. You can see here, you've got quite a bit of options, and you have some 0.5 millimeter settings. Let's set this in here. We'll hit set and update. Is it okay? There we go. The set value will be reflected when the control unit is restarted. So I'm going to go over to the our reset switch at the starboard side. So I'm going to close this. and then reopen it again just so we can see the settings are set. Here we are, 64 millimeters. So that's all the settings you have. It's very simple to configure this system. The other side is identical. So we're going to go do that, and then we'll get back to testing the stroke, make sure we've got proper adjustments.
Initial setup will be the other end on the actuator. Follow the book, do the settings, and then the next step is this end of the cable. So you're going to want to a lot of guys don't know how far to thread this on. I always tell my technicians, thread it all the way down till it stops, and then back it out about 4 turns. Run that down, lock it down with a couple of wrenches, and then that's your starting point. That's how you fasten that on. Gives you a little bit of adjustment if you have to go one thread in or one thread out when doing your setup. Then the next thing you do, put your bracket on, your cable clip bracket. And then the next thing you're gonna do is we're in idle, and we're going to snap that on. And we already have a bracket mounted right here, a cable clip on the other side. So I'm just gonna hold this with my hand. But normally you would set it right here in place where it's in line. We made this bracket out of U-channel, and then you clamp it on with the this works great for these alligator vice grips. And then what you're going to want to do is we're going to now stroke this full throttle. And you can see where it goes up against the stop on the injection pump, and on this particular engine it just touched. So then we pull it off and then make sure we can put it back on. So if you're clamped in, it's easier to do it. This is just a demonstration saying how it would be if it was clamped on. And it would, 2 hands, put it on the ball joint, and then you throttle back down and make sure that it can just easily pop back on and off. At that point, you would take the cable off. You have it clamped to determine where it's at, that this is going to work in this position. Your bracket, where you've determined you got it clamped in, this one's already clamped in, where you determine where that is, drill your holes and mount it, and then the last thing you do is double check again, put your cable in, flip the lever on the back side, the safety catch that holds it in place, just like so. Flip it over, locks it in, and then put the ball joint back on, and then check your stroke length. And then make sure it's right there at full open throttle. Put it back on, come back down, and on, off. In this setup, we had to make a plate come off the back of the gearbox. It's aluminum plate, it's rigid, it works well. So put it in neutral. You do the same way with the rod end joint. Screw it on, then back it out about 4 turns to lock it down. And then you'll put it onto the ball joint there, and you're floating. This hasn't been, let's say, hasn't been drilled out and mounted yet. So what you're going to want to do is take your clip like this, clip it on, and it's just going to kind of float. You want to get it in the same geometry as the way that this is going to travel. You don't want to be clear down here and pulling this way and then going long. So you want to get like, 90-degree angle from the pivot point. And then once you get that, start off in, you figure out what your settings are, and then you program it in the computer. So you start out in neutral, that's your starting point. You know that now what you're going to want to verify is when you shift into gear, I always kick it off. So when it's in neutral, that's your starting point, right? Okay, it's here in neutral, and what you do is you shift into gear. That is your stroke length, your 34 millimeters, and then you should just be able to do it by hand to check first, and it should drop right on like this one does. And then after that, you're like, okay, now we need to check the reverse stroke. So we go to neutral, it drops right on, that's good. And then we go to reverse, and then you just take and see if it drops right on. And in my experience, the stroke length of either in reverse and forward is usually always the same if you got the right angle pivot point at 90 degrees. When you're doing your mounting here to here, see the 90 degrees? It's 90 degrees. And then once you get that set up, you can take the cable off, get it out of your way, remove it, and then you can drill and do 2 mounting screws like we did on this one. And then after you're done, same way we did with the throttle, verify everything. Drop it back in, put the clip back on, put the ball joint, should drop right on, and then check your strokes again. Pop it on and off, and then go to reverse, pop it on and off, it should line up, and then go back to neutral. That is the procedure.
Okay, so Miles is in down in the engine room. You see it's a tight spot. So what we're going to do is we're going to power the system up on our switch over here. And then I'm going to press station select. Green lights are on. There's steady green lights in neutral. There's no alarms. And so first thing we're going to do is I'm going to put it in forward throttle. And he's going to check the stroke on it, make sure it's going to, confirm it's going the correct direction. So Miles, have you confirmed that yet?
Yes, I have.
Great, perfect. So now, while we're focused on the gear lever, I'm going to check the reverse position and confirm that it's adjusted correctly. Okay, Miles, what do you got?
It was perfect.
You got perfect fit. Good, awesome. Now I'm going to go back into neutral, and now I'm going to go forward throttle, forward gear, and I'm going to go wide open throttle all the way down. And so how's it looking, Miles?
Need to adjust the length.
You need to adjust the linkage a bit. Okay,
Yeah.
great. In what?
Shorter stroke. We're under tension presently.
All right. So let's go back to neutral. So we're going to adjust the throttle, change the stroke length. So we've made our change in the KE-4XG tool. Turn the power back on, and then wait a moment and hit select. We've got lights on the neutral position, and now we're going to go forward gear, and now I'm going to throttle all the way up. Miles is going to confirm that we are in the right position. How's it look, Miles?
Looks good.
Looks good. Great. Awesome. So now we have the forward throttle. Now we're going to confirm the same. It'll be the same for reverse, but it won't go all the way. It's only 60%, so it's not going to stroke the full 40 millimeters. But here we go. We got it done, and now he's going to move to the port side. But that kind of wraps up this part of the instructional video as far as configuring the control box, the throttles, cable positions. One additional thing I want to say is when you're making changes in the KE-4XG tool, you want to turn the power off, turn it back on when you're connecting the serial cable. Again, between each different setting change, as far as, from one session, when you set all the different positions. If you need to make a change, you power down, and it takes, again, like I said before, it takes effect once you power the system back up. And want to also note once you're done and you remove the serial cable from the control box, replace the dust cap back into place. That clears the port, so everything's watertight. We did have a initial problem when we first powered the system up. We were getting 5 blinking lights, 2 blinking lights. And, it was just like, we had to sort through that. And what we discovered was we attached our power to one of these ACRs here. If you can see it, we've got a couple we fused right off the ACRs. Found one of the ACRs was not working, so that's going to be changed out. But we're on the battery side of the ACRs, and it's fused. Yeah, we've always got power. So that's what it looks like.